What can I say? Sandman Season 1 is a dream come true. Many of you have asked me my thoughts on Sandman on Netflix, and what can I say? I really enjoyed Season 1. It took me about a week to complete it. I've been very busy, but overall I thought it was a fantastic adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Sandman. And I love it. I love the artwork. It's one of the best comics around, original creations, and yeah, there's just something about like the emo being brought back with Robert Pattinson's Batman and now Dream here with Morpheus. What can I say? It can't rain all the time. I love the approach of this. It changed some things from the comics, but it had the essence of the Sandman comic still. And because of that, it's one of the better adaptations out there right now. And even if you're not a fan, I think you're going to like this show. It's very intricate. There's a bigger mythology that's about to be at play, but pretty much they adapt the first two books of the Sandman. I love the work that the entire cast and crew have put into this. You could really tell the quality of this show, especially when compared to other adaptations, that kind of miss the whole point. Do the changes work? Some of them do. Some of them feel kind of annoying. They kind of fall into the pitfalls that a lot of other shows fall into. That being said, though, this is still one hell of a show and a dream come true when you recognize moments from the comics brought into live action, what they changed, what they didn't change. This is amazing, and it's a work of art. I really have to commend the showrunners, the writers, David S. Goyer and Alan Heinberg as the writers/creators. Of course, David S. Goyer did Blade, Dark Knight trilogy, wrote Crow City of Angels. Alan Heinberg was a producer of The Catch, Grey's Anatomy, but he was also a co-writer with Zack Snyder on Wonder Woman. And I love the cast, but more specifically, Tom Sturridge gives a brilliant performance as Dream, aka Morpheus, the god of dreams. I really love his performance here. It's almost otherworldly. And even though it's not exactly like the art, you could definitely tell it brings an element from the comics. You also have Boyd Holbrook as the villain Nightmare. He's basically the Corinthian, one of the nightmares that gets out and wreaks havoc on the real world. He's no stranger to being a villain in comic properties. You also have Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven. David Thewlis plays John Dee. He's no stranger to DC Comics. Jenna Coleman is Johanna Constantine, and it's pretty much like, John Constantine. John Constantine, that is a gender-swapped Constantine. And overall, I really love what she does here. I wonder if it was just done to gender swap it, or maybe it was a rights issue, because, like Doom Patrol has Kipling, and even though he's like Kipling, he's totally John Constantine. It makes me wonder about that, but I love what she does. I wouldn't mind if they do a Hellblazer spinoff with her. And then we also have Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer Morningstar. She is evil, and it's a much more comic accurate portrayal of Lucifer than the Netflix series, to say the least. Mason Alexander Park is Desire. Desire has a few tricks up their sleeve. Then you have Vanessa Samuel as Rose Walker. I hope I'm saying that right. She does a terrific job in this show. I love how each episode is presented. It's 10 episode structure, and each one's almost like a self-contained story in a way that has like an overarching narrative with Sandman trying to get his powers and items back. Pretty much the show starts off with the Corinthian, this nightmare that Boyd Holbrook plays. He's going and terrorizing the mortal world. Sandman can't have any of that. Out of nowhere, trying to stop him, he ends up getting summoned by these amateurs, this kind of like cult that's into like all this supernatural satanic stuff, and he gets captured, and he's there for like 100 years pretty much. The whole first episode is him being captured. We get to learn about the dream world and how like the dream god works and how dreams work with Morpheus and everything. And then he gets out. The remainder of the show is him not only bringing dreams back, but then getting his items back, getting his power back, and also restoring the balance to a fractured world. And there's a lot of stuff, And David Thewlis plays a guy who has a Sandman's ruby. He's the kid of a character we saw in the pilot episode. And his stuff is pretty cool and out there. They get rid of some of the stuff from the comics. So he's in a mental hospital, but he's not like an Arkham Asylum. They get rid of some Justice League references, although we do see a Static Shock episode. Despite the changes, it's still pretty much in its own world, and each episode has Sandman get a piece of his power back or discover something that was lost, getting dreams back, fighting Nightmare, and there's a bigger plan in motion. And I love how each episode kind of like doesn't do what other shows do, where it gets characters and it prolongs a certain conflict. No, like when Sandman deals with a conflict, he deals with it and they don't prolong it any longer. And then it moves on to the next person or the next conflict. And just when you think it's over, there's always something bigger and bigger at play. And with Nightmare out, the world being fractured, we find out that there's other deities, maybe other siblings of Morpheus, that are trying to manipulate him and play this longer game. We get a reference of Hell with Lucifer Morningstar. There's a terrific scene between the two actors there. There's this fight between Morpheus and Lucifer that's just awesome. I mean, I love that whole episode. 24/7 is a messed up episode rendition of the 24 Hours plot of Sandman. You know, we find out that there's this person called the Vortex that is created, that if they're allowed to live, they could break the walls and just destroy the mortal and dream world and practically the universe. So there is a ticking clock there. There's higher stakes, but in the midst of that, there's a lot of like deep, intimate stories. There's one episode where Morpheus meets this man who's practically immortal, and they meet each other at this pub for every 100 years. And I love that. That almost brought me back to like Highlander and stuff. There's some great work done in how they adapted the Sandman stories, and this is just the beginning, you know. This is just like the setup. There's a bigger mythology at play, and it is a very intricate show. So if you're like in the mood for like popcorn MCU fun, you're not going to get that here. You're not even going to get the DC stuff. This is for adults. And I love it. It's a work of art, just like the comic series from Vertigo. And it's really a dream come true seeing this level of quality put into a show, to an adaptation where sometimes they kind of lose sight of what made the adaptation special to begin with. Now, for the ultimate experience, I would stick to the comics and graphic novels and stuff. I would stick to the original works. But like HBO's Watchmen, it elevates material and spins a different take on it that is unique and also faithful to the source material. And because of that, I highly recommend it. It gets a 5 out of 5 and an A+ in my book. I absolutely enjoyed it. They did know how to like end the episodes where I had to keep watching and watching once I got started. But overall, I really want to see a season 2. And it kind of shows you like how watered down some of the other properties are in the comic materials, because I love the Tom Ellis Lucifer, but like that was like so far off from the comics that it's kind of crazy seeing this. And I wish that somebody would get like a Justice League Dark or put Sandman into the Hellblazer universe, get like John Constantine there, get Swamp Thing, get Sandman, get the Lucifer from like the graphic novel. Like that could be a cool shared universe in its own way without having to tie entirely to the DC comics. But overall, as a comic book fan, it's great seeing this show come to life after so many decades. You know, we almost had that film with Joseph Gordon-Levitt that was in development. And it's cool seeing certain moments and panels from the comics brought to life. There's some great actors here, some great writing. It's one of the most pleasant surprises I've had with comic book properties or just a comic book adaptation in a while. So be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Did you see Sandman? Let me know what you thought of it. In the meantime, those are my brief thoughts on the Sandman. I loved it. It makes me want to go ahead and read all the stories now. I've only was vaguely familiar with like the beginning stories from like the late 80s, and you could tell it definitely has that like mood about it. Like I could definitely imagine Morpheus like listening to The Cure or something. Like I don't know, I just have that feeling. But overall, it makes me want to revisit the source material now, because I know there's a lot of stuff they changed, but still, it was cool seeing the stuff that they were able to like get in there and kind of rework. Let me know down in the comments below. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more content. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Till next time, sweet dreams.